Hi, this is Chiezan, the prior at SokukoJi Buddhist Monastery. Sokuzan offers these talks without expecting anything in return. If you value these talks and would like them to continue, please visit our donate page at www.sokukoji.org. Thank you.
Conversations no one wants to have. I could just say difficult conversations, which would be simpler, but it's more descriptive. It's conversations no one wants to talk about some things, especially in a spiritual community with all the crazy scandal that goes on in these kind of communities. And I'm not here to validate or justify anybody, including myself. I'm not going to say, well, if you think I'm saying this, then you need to call me on it. Don't let me get away with anything. Call me on it. Don't go off and gossip about it with people because you're afraid to come to me. I'm not afraid of you. I'm not afraid of anything. I'm not afraid of being a failure. I'm not afraid of scandal. You don't have to protect me in that way. Please help me with this. I'm completely here. I might as well be naked sitting here. Not a bragging point. Good thing I'm not. They'll all run away. But I'm just saying, I want to be genuine with you as much as I can. And I would like you to be genuine with yourself and with your life and with your mind, please. Try to see this. I don't think you can do this by thinking your way or figuring it out. I feel, I could even say that I know you need to do it with consciousness or with awareness. The consciousness or the awareness has to lead your life, not be protected by your opinions, your judgments, your ideas, your evaluations, your analysis, or your logic. Especially the logic is based on social mores. Be very careful of that. This doesn't mean let anybody get away with anything. Watch everything, observe everything, look at it, but be very tentative about projecting onto something what it is. Until you see what something is, don't name it. If you name it, you stop investigating. And especially, you could have a tremendous backup of your culture. Might be you can find all kinds of people that will agree with you. Well, difficult conversations. People, not so much to my face, a little bit, but finally gets back to me that people think I'm abusing them, think that I'm using teachings like, well, it's choiceless in order to be abusive to people or be mean to them. And when I start to get irritated about this, what I usually say is that, and you've heard me say it, I don't mean to chase you away. I don't want you to leave. I think everybody here should stay here and listen to this old teacher. Because it's not me, it's not my opinions, it's what I'm looking at. I teach out of what I see. I don't remember, I've read probably thousands of books by now. I don't remember any of it. But without all that reading and all that study, which we do every day here in this monastery, I would not be able to teach but all those concepts have led me. It's like going up stair steps and then just no more stairs. I'm looking at it. Don't believe a damn word I say. I'm not asking you to believe. This is not a belief. It's not that kind of a theistic spiritual path where you believe this, so you don't have to look at it anymore, just believe it. No, it's better than that. It's worse than that. Pardon me. So people will say, well, why are you so mean, or why are you so grouchy? Well, put yourself in my sandals for a few minutes. You'll see what it's like. I'm not here to whine and complain to you. This is talking to one of my students. I don't mind saying his name, Sanho, who can see it better than a lot of people. Although he's actually blind, but he has very good insight. A very highly intelligent man. He's been helping me a little bit with that, but because he's bringing to me the gossip that's going on. He's not telling me their names. I don't need to know anybody's name. All I have to hear is what's being said. I know who said that. I know exactly who said it. But it's not about making them wrong or blaming them. I want to help you see what this is. This does not mean you have to get rid of anything or be someone different or zip it. It means you need to see what it is yourself. You just need to see what it is, right? And you need to see it with this, not with the carousel that's in the head. So not sure which direction to go. I could have some questions about it, or I can continue to jabber away. Yes, bien.
Beyond bowing. As you've mentioned before, how I see it is your personality often shows up as upset or gruff or angry, sometimes mean.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I bet it does.
My question is, how do I keep missing who you are for this personality?
Because you miss who you are for your personality. This is a mirror. I'm not here to justify being an asshole. I'm just saying that if I see you, I see who you think you are, and I see who you actually are. I see your Buddha nature. It's radiant. You can't miss it. And I see your dumbass personality buying into your thought patterns, your emotions, your beliefs, your opinions. And if you have given me permission to be your teacher, then I'm going to teach you. And that if you're hiding out from who you actually are by buying into belief in your feelings, if you believe your thoughts, if you believe your emotions, if you believe your opinions, if you believe your judgments, then you'll continue to go in space, go in circles. And it's fine to live that way. It's not wrong. Billions of people live that way. But you've stepped into a situation where somebody has been looking at this for half a century and sees something. And they want to help you with it. And it won't be easy. Let's keep going if you can.
Beyond bowing. So then how does disliking the personality that is showing up here and turning away from it, and the same in you,
Yeah.
set me on this spinning?
So rather than seeing your own grasping, rejecting, shutting down your own passion, aggression, and ignorance, because I make it very easy with you. Project onto me. Go ahead. Make it easy. But I'm the teacher. So you've put yourself in a position to function as a student of mine. So anything the teacher, this doesn't mean they're justified. This doesn't mean if the teacher, any teacher, this one or any other one is hurting people or abusing people, you shouldn't call them on it or say something about it or make an announcement if that's how it looks to you. I'm not saying you need to protect me. Don't protect me. But certainly don't gossip. Bring it to me. Tell me so we can talk with this. This is what Sanho did just recently. And I think we had some understanding. I don't know if he's here now or not, but I don't see his name. More?
Beyond bowing. I'm experiencing a knot between everything the teacher does as a teaching and wanting to say no. There's like a
okay,
big knot there. And
yeah. Okay. When I say everything that a teacher says or does as a teaching, I'm not saying that it's going to look that way. But if you can, rather than look at the teacher and blame, which is an outflow, the teacher could be doing something that's very inappropriate culturally and socially. Very possible. If that person, whether it's my teacher, Tongpo Rinpoche, KoenChi Roshi, or any other teacher, does something that's socially unacceptable or doesn't fit into the mores of society, it's very possible they are doing that. So if you want to, then you could say, well, that's not a true teacher. Would you be correct? I don't know. Probably as far as you're concerned. But I'm not here to validate my activity. I would say I teach, I don't make a choice about this. I don't look at society and think, let's see, how would I teach so it won't upset anybody? That's not going to help. You might as well go to a psychiatrist or go to a social worker. Not that you shouldn't. That may be the kind of help you need. People need to get the help they're willing to receive, not the help that this old man thinks they should get. I don't have an opinion on that. I respect people's confusion and their direction in life. It's difficult when somebody comes this way and says, I'm going to go another way. But I have to be respectful of that and say, rather than say, well, you're wrong and I'm right and you need to do as I say. That's more of a cult. What?
beyond bowing, does this situation and this personality need to be seen through before yours, for example?
I'm probably gonna look pretty scary or obstinate or grouchy or any other word you want to come up with. I can't even remember the difference between an adjective and a verb. Can you? Anybody else want to help us? You follow what I'm saying? It's this, not this description of it. It's this, not the concepts about it. So coming back to your question, are you saying, do you need to see who you are or see who this is? Is that where you're at?
Is there an order or is there?
No, it's all out of order. The teacher is the person. If I'm with somebody who's insane, I'm just as insane as they are. Otherwise, I can't help them. Can't help somebody. It's not like sometimes Trungpa Rinpoche use the idea of the surgeon is over here and the patient is over here and you need an operation. You need to come in and get an operation. I don't use that image. I am the disease you're dealing with. I have to be. But also, the only thing that protects me, if you want to use that word, is I see it's unreal. I see it's an illusion. Therefore, I'm not particularly frightened of the craziness. I'm not afraid of emotions that come up that are completely negative that arise in this mind stream. More about that. Let's go further into that if you have questions. Difficult to ask questions in that area. Ondo.
Ondabine, are you saying that we give the teacher a pass if they do something socially unacceptable?
No, don't give anybody a pass for anything, including yourself. Don't validate or justify anything. The teaching is, I don't even hold with the teaching from ancient Tibet that whatever the teacher says that I will do. I don't go with that. Might have worked in medieval times. I don't think that works today. I think you should do what you need to do. And that may be fall at the feet of the teacher or listen, receive from the teacher, but maybe go out and, run for a city manager. Something totally different. You need to, but if you're here, I'm going to encourage you to look at your mind stream without agreeing, without disagreeing, and without ignoring. Those are the three poisons that keep us from seeing our true nature. Traditionally, in our lineage and our teaching, it's called Buddha nature, or awakened seers. You're already awake. You're just covered up with fear, covered up with hope, covered up. Don't do it. And how do you do it? How do you don't do it? How do you not do it? You have to see the cover up in order for it to come apart. You cannot uncover this. You cannot uncover your enlightened nature. You just have to see this being covered up. And because the very nature of awakening is awake, so you see, you've never slept. It's impossible to explain this in such a way that it's going to make sense rationally or logically up to a point. And some teachers, Nagarjuna, Vasubandhu, are able to use that, even Dogen Zen, to use that kind of thinking process to get right out to the edge of it before that all comes apart. Yeah.
Ondabine, when the teacher is expressing anger or jealousy or
Yes.
being emotionally abusive, it looks like emotional abuse.
Yes.
Is that to help us see, and when you say it can be a teaching, is that for us to see how our abuse, how our jealousy?
If you're a student, yes. If you can be a student, it's so hard. It's so hard. I had 2 teachers. It's so hard to receive whatever the teacher's doing as a teaching rather than he doesn't like me or he's treating me this way. Or why isn't he being more respectful to me? Why is he doing this to me? I've been through all that. I would not be here. It's all I can do to keep from breaking down and sobbing right now. Not because I'm such a wonderful person. It's because I'm nobody. There isn't anyone here. This is just consciousness. Are the emotions here? Yes, powerful emotions. There's no one feeling this. There's no person back here feeling, and there's no person back here being embarrassed about what you think. Because I know you're having all kinds of thoughts about this. You can't help but project on something that is over there, which is an illusion, until you see that there is no over there. Until you see that, you will see something that's over, you think is over there, when actually it's a projection. You are seeing your own mind. And it might be all dressed up in red, blue, and pink, but when you see it, all the colors disappear because there's just this. I'm looking at it. If you're interested, let's keep going. If you want something else, as I said before, I'm not trying to scare everybody away, but if you don't want this, just don't stay around. Go do something else with your life. But if you want it, not going to be easy. Closer you get to me, more difficult it's going to be, because the own fire in your own mind stream that you're trying to hide out from is going to start getting hotter and hotter and hotter until you come to the point where you say, I'm not going to stay with this crazy teacher anymore. Or maybe some other variety of the thing, like, I think I'll find somebody else that's nicer. I don't like the way he blows his stack all the time, or is what? Jealous. I'm very jealous. I'm jealous of my Dharma heir going out to see another teacher in California. So and he's going to do that. And I could tell him not to. He might do what I say and he might not. I don't need to do that. I know there's nothing to fix. Now listen to me here, my friends. There's nothing to correct. Any emotion that comes up in your mind stream is dependently arisen, has a right to be there. There's just no person there. But the emotion has a right to be there. It needs to be there, just like you need to eat. Dependently arisen. You need to go to the restroom. You need to go to the dentist. You need all dependently arisen, all relatively true, but fundamentally it's unreal. It's an illusion. If you're interested, we'll keep going. If you're not, please do something else. I have a student recently who said, I can't do this anymore. I think he's probably complaining about me, but also they're just being around the Sangha is just too uncomfortable for him. So he's taken, I don't know, 9 months off or something like that. He's going to come back and see me later on in the year, I guess. Is that wrong? No, he's doing what he needs to do. Some people will never come back. That's fine. Maybe he won't. There's nothing to correct. More if you have it. More. Go ahead.
What about, you were just laughing there about that student who's leaving,
Yes. I'm still laughing about it.
but that doesn't feel good
What doesn't feel good?
for that student.
For you?
Yes,
Okay.
it seems like there's some judgment there.
On your part or mine?
Well, that's what I want to ask. Am
Okay.
I seeing judgment when you laugh at a student leaving who,
No, I'm leaving because he thinks he's doing something right or wrong. And I know there's no such thing. So, and there's no way he could fail if I never see him again. All I saw when I related with him as a student was the Buddha. I saw his kind of confusion, which would be opened right up. There's just nothing but light, and then it would close right down. There's nothing but darkness. And you just over and over and over. Painful to go through that. A lot of suffering there for that person doing exactly what he needs to do.
Sano.
If he asked me one more thing, Sanho, and then I'll come to you. If he had asked me what I thought he should do, I said, just keep practicing. Return to the cushion, return to the teacher, the teaching, the community, just continue. But he didn't. He told me what he was going to do. And I said, very good. Go ahead and do that. Go ahead, Sanho.
So this sounds relatively like someone in a position of authority is telling us ways in which we're still wrong. And what I'm wondering is, can the teacher be wrong?
Teacher's always wrong. Can't help but be wrong.
Sanho bowing. If we think the teacher might be wrong, what do we do? Sanho bowing.
Do what you need to do. It's your mind stream. Get your own authority. You may need the teacher. If you need the teacher, it'll be choiceless. If you don't need the teacher, as I've said, I don't mean to be mean to you. Go do something else. But if you sense from listening to this person talk for the last, 10, 15 years, that I might be looking at something you're interested in, then stay here, keep practicing. Some of you are fully ordained monks. I think if you've gone that far, probably should stay with this. If you receive jukai or lay precepts, probably should stay with this. but I'm not going to order you to. I've had 1 month leave already.
Sanho bowing. If
Yes.
we think,
Yes, yes,
if we think you are being manipulative,
yes,
or if we sense that you're being manipulative in some way,
yes.
what would you like us to do, Sanho bowing?
I think I can't come up with a standard for that. It would depend on your dynamic. It would depend on each person, the karma that brought you into this room or into this teaching situation in the first place. I would trust that situation. That will tell you what to do.
Sanho bowing.
Yes.
I have one more in that area right now, which is
Go ahead.
if fear comes up that you will retaliate against us or otherwise make our lives difficult because of whatever your karma is,
Oh.
well, let's just assume for a second that comes up.
Yeah.
What should we do as students? Sanho bowing.
I can't give you, all I can say, and you hear this over and over again, observe what's happening. And as if you can receive it, but you may not be able to receive it. It may get close to you and you need to project on it with judgment or ideas or opinions, but we are not separate from each other. I'm looking at it, and if I may say it this way, and this may feel painful to you, but you are not. If you were looking at this, you would not even be listening to me. You probably would be somewhere else doing, I don't know what you'd be doing. It would be so different with the karma that you were dealing with that brought you into this realm in the first place. This human realm is very temporary. Even though I've been around for 80 some years, not going to last. It looks more and more how I see how very temporary this is. There is no next. It just looks like it. If you think there's a next, this is the degree to which you're strapped to, glued to this illusion as being real. And that it's like your life and your death are two different things. So I can't, Sanho, with respect to you, I can't tell you what to do. I can say, you train your mind, sit down, hold still, and watch the movement of the mind, so that if you do take a direction to go away from the teacher, get closer to the teacher, stay right where you're at. Those are the three basically, and there's all the variations in between. That'll come out of your awareness rather than out of your fear, out of your awareness rather than out of your hope for something better, and out of your awareness rather than some kind of judgment or closing down on something so you can't really see what it is. More, Sanho, if you haven't.
Sanho bowing. I'm reflecting on students going to other students, but you say don't gossip. Is there a helpfulness in students talking to other students and talking to you? Sanho bowing.
Absolutely. I think both. I'm not saying don't talk to Sangha members, to other people, of course. Of course, do that, but also rather than, as I said, to talk just, so I don't know what's going on. I just know that I'm being kind of roasted around the corner. Something's roasting me, or having opinions and judgments and about what I'm doing, calling me sexist. From my point of view, I can see where that might show up that way, but it doesn't feel like that to me. Doesn't seem like that to me. So I'm not saying that you relatively that might not look that way to you, but it doesn't work for me to try to defend myself or explain how, oh no, I'm being very, 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 very supportive of females, women. I think I am. I'm doing the best I can within the situation of being an old white man who was raised in a very, very prejudiced environment. And I've spent many, many years training this mind, over 30 years, training this mind before I even presume to sit in front of people and act like a teacher or function as someone that might be able to help you. I spent a lot of, that's not a credential particularly, just a description of what's been going on over here. So I'm doing my best to do that. It'll be my defensiveness, I guess, doing what I can. But I don't make decisions. I don't decide. If I decided things to do, I would not come in here. This is just too damn difficult. Every face I look into is suffering. I don't see a person in here that I don't see the suffering you're dealing with. You might think you have it covered up, and I'm not reading your mind. I don't know what you're thinking. I don't need to, because I'm not separate from you. I'm not separate from you, Sanho. Not separate from anybody. You just had a pretty long interview with me recently. And we talked about a lot of really difficult stuff. Did you perceive that I was defending myself in some way, or saying I'm right, you guys are wrong? How did it look?
Sonho bowing. May I respond to that?
You bet you may respond to that.
Well,
See, no, I just asked that question, but I prefer you don't say anything.
well,
I just
sometimes
realized
people
that
ask rhetorical.
that question might be too risky for me. And
No. So what I would say is yes, there was defensiveness. There was explaining and justifying. There was a little bit of pressuring to give names or to give information that would suss out names. And there was a very helpful recognition aloud of what was happening. So when I brought to the teacher, here's what's happening, here's what's showing up and what it looks like and exactly how ugly it is, the teacher's response was very transparent and very, the defensiveness was acknowledged, the pressuring was acknowledged, and it was that simple. It came and went. And when I simply quietly stood my ground and said, well, no, I'm not going to do that, he said, okay, that makes sense. And we moved forward. It was very helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome. And you should be an attorney. Wait a minute. I think you are an attorney already. Thank you very much. I appreciate you coming in. I know that was not easy. Like, that's why the Sano is the one who titled this talk, conversations we don't want to have. So that's where that title came from. So I'm as much as I can, I'm open to discussing this some more. Let's have that conversation we don't want to have. If you have questions, let's go there. Around the corner there.
Shanji, I'm going.
Yes, sir.
With something like everything that teacher does is a teaching, is that something to use to focus our attention on just receiving something from one place as opposed to everything else?
So it's the way that that's been talked about, and I think there's something to that. It certainly was helpful from both of my teachers, is that by doing that, it helps you see that everything is teaching you. If you can find one area where you're receiving teaching from that one person that seems wrong, or like they're making a mistake, or they shouldn't be teaching you that way, why are they doing that? But if you can just receive it, then eventually that shows you that everything is talking to you that way. Everything you're projecting on, you're judging everything, so you can't see this incredible world. This is what happened with somewhat with Trump. It was powerful, but I think a lot of people were experiencing that with him. But I got from Coben, I never met anybody who got from Coben what I got from Coben, which is he pointed out my neurosis, my narcissism, and that I was a liar. And he did it in such a way that I could not help but see it. I had to just continue to sit for many, many years until it showed up. It wasn't like a sunshine it showed up. It showed up like just something that had always been there that I just was able to look at. It's just like looking straight ahead for your whole life and then looking over and seeing that sitting right next to you, there's a giant monster that you've been ignoring, and that is your ego. Painful. We all want to be somebody. We want to be a person who's right, and a person who's making progress, and a person who's getting ahead. Everywhere I look, I see this in every one of you. The way I see it in you, or the way I see it in you, or you, it's all different. And if you'll notice, if you have interviews with me, you notice you get treated probably differently than anyone else. Most of it is just listening to you. Other than with Juzan, or I tell Juzan a lot of stuff. Isn't that right? Yes. More about that if you haven't.
Shanji, it's a little bit different question, but
Sorry.
Can the teachings be used inappropriately to cover something up, like
Totally.
these slogans or something?
All of that. You can twist any of that around.
Does the teacher do that?
A teacher might. If it's a true teacher, it's unlikely, but still the karma that is biting that teacher in the butt, probably to even get them onto the path, could still be there gnawing away. So there could be times when I go into really deep depression deep depression that almost took my life. But it doesn't last. It goes right down in. I see what it is and it comes out. It doesn't last. Nothing lasts very long over here. But it comes and goes. Everything is free to come through this. It's like being a big barn with both doors open and horrible weather coming through, but it can't, there's nothing in there to knock over. It just goes right on through. But that doesn't mean you don't feel it intensely. But you don't, there's no personhood there that is objecting to it. No, a personhood there that is blaming something. You don't blame the wind. There's no personhood there anymore. It's temporary. But that doesn't mean that if you realize your true nature, the personhood disappears. No, it's just seen to be insubstantial. More.
Sokuzan, is it possible for somebody to walk this path without feeling mistreated or being put upon?
I have no idea. I certainly felt put upon and mistreated by both of my teachers. I felt insulted by the first one and ignored and shunned and judged by the second one. And I actually gave up on Coven. I just tried to ignore, forget. He, not my teacher. He didn't like me. He won't talk to me. So it took quite a while to realize that what he was doing was teaching me as I had asked him to do. I had asked him to teach me. And then he began immediately, within less than a second, began teaching me. There was no thinking process going on there. But I didn't like that teaching, so therefore I didn't treat it as a teaching. I treated it as something he was doing wrong, or that he misunderstood what I was saying or what I was asking. No, he didn't. He knew exactly what I was doing. He began to teach, and because he was so clear about himself and about anything else that was the apparent other, he was able to function as a teacher. I was very lucky to have stumbled into that situation of saying, can I take precepts with you? That's all I said. From then on, he began teaching and never stopped until he died 6 months before I could get back to him. Go ahead.
Sokuzan, it says you say that it took you a long time to see what he was pointing to.
10 years.
Do you still feel like he was mistreating you? Or
No, no, he was teaching me. I never got to thank him. I'm not embarrassed. I'm just full of emotion. I'm not embarrassed. 20 years ago, I could not have even gotten up here, let alone put on robes. That would be way too presumptuous and too pretentious for me to wear a robe. My goodness. Further questions? Don't hesitate.
Milka bowing question from Naveed.
Naveed.
Every day that goes on, I can't help but to love you more and more. And even if you be mean to me, although you've never been mean to me, and I don't just accept anyone as my teacher, I feel an intense chemistry between us, and I don't know where that comes from. I'm just projecting onto you, or what is that where does that chemistry come from?
It doesn't come, there's no source. It's without a source. There's no source for anything. If you think there is, you'll continue to torture yourself and torture others around you and blame them for how you feel. There is no source. Don't believe me. Don't destroy or cover up your own intelligence by believing anything. Believe nothing. Don't believe anything. Don't disbelieve anything. Don't go the other way and get your identity from pushing back. And certainly don't ignore. Look at the fingers in front of your eyes and until they come apart. Don't push them away. That's belief. That's belief that there's something there. And the connection that I have with Naveed, even though may never meet Naveed face to face, he lives in Iran, so hard to say if he's ever going to be able to get here, and I hope that I'm going there. But it doesn't matter. I've known him forever. not the personality of Naveed, but the consciousness that comes into that form, that someone at some point when he was born was named Naveed. Same thing with every one of you here. It's not a credential. Can't take it anywhere. You can't cash it in. It's worthless and it's priceless at the same time.
Beyond bowing, how does the student, or how can the student meet the teacher where they are at?
You have to meet yourself where you're at. You can't really find the teacher. Teacher has no location in time or in space. The body's still here. The teacher, if it's a true teacher, they don't care what happens next because there is no next. I don't mean to go on and on about that because it's not something you can particularly see because it's still conceptual. But the teaching person has to teach with concepts. So all the concepts are pointing beyond concepts. Just a way of talking about it more.
Beyond bowing, you've encouraged us a lot to meet things where they're at, meet people where they're at.
Yes.
That's language that's been used a lot in years prior. Something you said earlier made me wonder how is everything already meeting us where we're at, including a teacher with a personality and things we like and we don't like and we want to change. And
I think it's the passion, aggression, just the grasping at some things as being true and rejecting as other things as being untrue, and the shutting down on things that are just too confusing or irritating or just in our way or too much happening that we ignore or distract ourselves from because we don't want to look at it. And this is what the sitting practice of meditation is about, is to get you to sit still and watch how you push, aggression, how you pull or shift or change or shape, reshape or blame or tell stories about passion, or how you close away and distract yourself into something else. Ignore. To observe that so that the consciousness, which is not a person, and which miraculously is able to show up as the illusion of individuals. This is happening on all the balls of dirt, all of the galaxy, all of the cosmos. Consciousness is showing up everywhere. Sometimes they're called aliens. There are no aliens. That's just not a very good word. Aliens. It's just consciousness showing up in its whatever form it wants, and show up as just so astonishing. And the only people that know about this or have some kind of contact with this, either through their consciousness or through being taken up in a ship. Or as Nancy Tremaine. Talk to Nancy Tremaine. Very, very unusual woman who lives in Detroit. Who wrote a book called what? Anyone remember? Doesn't matter. Look at, she's got several books. Go ahead.
beyond bowing, how does receiving a teaching, maybe a view, not mean doing what that person wants us to do?
Don't do anything. No, have I ever given you a direct order to do anything?
I think so.
Mm-mm. So what are you referring to?
Maybe expectations, though I don't know if you have expectations, but they do occur in other people. And
Yeah, they do, but do you see me having expectations of you? We've known each other, what, 10 years? Okay, and you've kind of come and gone. You came here and then you left, went somewhere else, and you came back and went somewhere else. So is there any, and you have you received Yukai a number of years ago, so you received lay precepts of Bodhisattva vow. Have I ever said anything about a certain way you need to practice, or other than sit a lot? I tell everyone that. Anything else? Any evaluation going on where you should be acting differently?
no,
So what is it you're referring to?
I'm wondering, how does receiving another, being with another, not mean doing what they want you to do?
But still, the question's still not clear. You're talking about being with Ruby, your daughter. She want you to do certain things? I'm sure she does. So she's only 17, so she probably has really strong feelings about what you should be doing, doesn't she? I mean, I'm not trying to include her. I don't think she's not here. So, is there anyone who wants you to do things differently or wants you to do something else?
I'm just thinking about expectations, and I don't
Okay.
have a real clear question about them, but
So-
it looks like sometimes I'm behaving on behalf of my own expectations
Okay.
that I might put in another person, or maybe that person does have expectations. I'm
not sure what I respond to the question, but I'm not clear what it is. I want people to act differently, and so I have some of that. I want people to meditate a lot, sit a lot, train your mind. That's what I want. I want Unyo not to get mad at me about stuff that I have no choice about. I don't choose anything. Yes, go
So
ahead.
that right there, that you wanting things different than they are.
Yes. Well, I want to be careful I don't set myself too high above everybody. Like, I'm the person who doesn't want anything. So wouldn't you like to be like me? I don't want anything. Yes, it's very ordinary. Yeah, I'd rather have easy relationship with Unyo. And most of the time we do. But sometimes they're unhappy with the way I'm functioning.
So, right, there are things that you want to be different.
Yes. That's how I'm able to teach this.
And we are on like, maybe like a witnessing, receiving student end of that, viewing that want.
Yes.
Because you are the teacher, does that mean we should do what you want?
No, does it feel like I'm saying that to you? Let me use Unyo.
Sometimes.
Sometimes, can you say something about help her with what she's trying to understand?
When you're buying, it feels like being caught in the second noble truth, wanting things to be different. And I feel that way, and I project that you do too. And
I
dealing
do.
with this person.
I would like to not have skin pain, peripheral neuropathy all over but I know it's dependent. There isn't. It's going to be there. I am diabetic, and so this form is going to do whatever it needs to do to survive or stay alive or pass away, whatever happens. So that's also happening in the mind stream. It looks like the thinking process is separate from the body. I don't think it is. Yes.
Sokuzan, having trouble phrasing this question because the answer seems sort of obvious to me, but it's on
What
the
is it?
table.
What's the obvious? What's obvious?
Well, I don't see how we could see how we trap ourselves by expectations and standards unless we bumped into them. So for instance, we have forms at the monastery. If, I guess, is it important for the teacher to show up as a form or as anything that we're trapping ourselves by in order for us to see? Why is it easier to see it when the teacher reflects that compared to the rest of the world, which is constantly reflecting it?
Well, you're a monk. When you're here, you live at the monastery more or less, even though your house is a ways away. You just received a really powerful teaching from this teacher, the other day. That was pretty strong, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. I've never dropped at the feet of anyone and prostrated to them. Not recently. And I rarely do that, but that's what you received because that's the only thing I could do. What you were going through, the only thing I could do is to prostrate to you. And it's not easy for me to do a full prostration. As I've said, I think I've done it. And I'm not here to say, oh, I'm such a wonderful teacher. I'm able to put myself in a difficult situation. But it's choiceless. I cannot help. I just do it. I don't think, oh, I need to do this because she needs this teaching. I just see myself doing it, just like I see you doing what you do. choiceless. That doesn't mean there's a standard where I'm going to every now and then start prostrating towards this student or that student. That's the only thing I could reach you with at that time, what you were wound up in. You remember that? You have a memory of what you were wound up in?
You had said you would stop functioning as my teacher. I did not hear the part where you said for 10 minutes.
I'm doing that all the time with everybody. When I see somebody just close off, I think, okay, don't teach. Don't teach. This is too much stuff. Yeah, there's no way I can stop doing that, but I would hold off if somebody starts having a great deal of difficulty. Then it's not like I'm thinking about, let's see, they're having difficulty with this teaching where I'm kind of pointing into the wound that I call narcissism or ego or pride. So I'm so full of it myself. That's all I know about it. It's exhausting to be extremely self-centered, narcissistic. It takes a while because when you see this in illusion, it doesn't go away. You still have it. You still have jealousy. You still have pride. You still have envy. You still have it, but there's no personhood there anymore. Those are dependently risen. They're looking for a self that feels that way. They need help in order to manifest as a kind of relative reality.
Mozuku bowing. I can only speak for myself, but there's nothing you've ever done.
What's up?
Zoom, there's some questions on Zoom.
There are? Well, you can finish and then I'll take a Zoom question.
There's nothing I've experienced as your student that the whole world that I couldn't experience anywhere.
You could.
What is the difference? Why does it function as a mirror in a way that it doesn't seem to with the rest of the world? Somebody else could.
Because the teacher is meeting you in the middle of your shit. Because they see your shit and you said, help me. And then the teacher says, you really mean that? And then you come forward and receive Jukai and say, yes, I mean that. I'm receiving these vows to be with all things, to save all beings, put others before myself. Well, this is the other. And so you have the teacher to show you your world, to show you the world you're objecting to and you think is over there and is wrong and shouldn't be doing that. So you come and ask the teacher. Of course, you don't know exactly what you're asking. That's why you get a chance to do it twice. And so you've gone all the way and you're fully ordained as a monk. You sewed a robe. That's why you do one stitch at a time. Refuge in the Buddha, refuge in the Dharma, refuge in the Sangha, refuge in the... So to slow your way down just in case you want to quit before you get done. And then you can quit again before you're fully ordained. You didn't. And now you're here. Now you're a student. And I would highly recommend that you continue. As Trungpa Rinpoche once said, better not to begin. Do it in another lifetime. Just postpone it. Don't become a monk. Just keep going lifetime after lifetime until you run into the Dharma so many times that finally you have to step on the path. There's no other way to do this. It may not even be Buddhism. It may be something else. There's lots of universes where the Dharma is showing up.
Mozuku bowing. As a resident, there has been, as long as I remember, apparently multiple versions, but there's been a list of forms and it's been titled in multiple versions, mandatory forms for practice residents.
Yes.
None of us managed to do all of those.
Well, it's
forms.
mandatory to observe the form. And then you, depending on your sleep schedule, how much sleep you're getting, on your health, on your family relationships, on your job situation, all the dependent origination that comes up, here's what you should do. But if you can't do that, no, I'm not chasing you down or calling you on the phone or do anything. I just say, well, I trust you. You probably can't do that today. Just like if someone comes in here and sits, if you haven't noticed, this is much different than the traditional monastery where you have to sit here. You get hit with a stick if you talk. Not so in here. So we observe it, and then we notice how we can do this, but we can't do that part. But go ahead.
Mozuku bowing. If it hadn't said mandatory on it when I moved in, I don't think it would have been as powerful to see that you've never punished anybody for quote unquote failing to align ourselves with those forms.
Yeah. Oh,
So do we need to bump up against sort of the impossibility of something or that success and failure mentality in order to really see our ego and how we're hung up on that?
probably will. Difficult area. There might be another word than mandatory, but it's like the mandatory part comes from observing that so clearly that you can see that there's no reason you can't go and do that today. Up to and including you're sleepy, you didn't get enough sleep, or you feel tired, or those are valid. Those are not indulgent. Don't come here unless you have to. And if you receive vows, and especially if you're a monk, you probably should be over here, which you are. But then there are other people that aren't here as much. And it isn't like some people are better than others. It's very, very situational. People do the best they can. Yes.
Mozuka vowing, if we just softened all of that, got rid of the words mandatory and made sure you were always very sweet and never upsetting to us, would we miss an opportunity to train our minds?
I don't know. Shoka, what do you think? You wanted to change everything. Didn't you give me an idea for getting involved forms? But I asked you to write it up so I could study it because I wasn't going to say no to it. How are you coming on that? Anything?
Good. It was only the sitting forms.
Okay, no mandatory sitting.
No, I didn't say that.
Well, what did you say? Remind me.
Just rather than have 3 distinct time periods where we're sitting in,
Yeah.
have that happen for the whole day from morning to night.
So people could just do whatever they wanted in there.
People could come in and sit within a live form.
Okay.
Whenever
But they can't sit at 2 a.m.
they could.
Okay. So that would be in your description.
No.
Oh, okay. I don't know what he's talking about. He's got to write it down so I can have somebody look at it and explain to me what Shoka's talking. Go ahead. More? You don't have to have any more. You've had quite a bit. How'd they do? Okay, good.
Sensu bowing. I've heard a couple of times in the past, I've heard you say that someone is not receiving. And
If it's not I'm not criticizing. I'm not saying, oh, you're failing. I'm just saying you can. You can do it. And I say it's not like you won't do that. No, you can't. It's just difficult. It's a difficult area. Go ahead, please.
how do you know? How does that show up?
It's not knowledge. It's not knowledge in the sense of a relative judgment, or I just see that it's not being received. And what's coming back at me is irritation, resentment, anger, sometimes furious energy coming back this way. And my intention is to show somebody where they're having difficulty. I've had some people I point at and they immediately say they receive it. I'm just putting my hands together, so I'm not sure it's different with each person. They just receive it. They see how they're doing whatever they're doing, which is being pointed at by the teacher, in this case, this person, and others don't. It's so variable. There's no standard for any of it. More? Good question.
Can receptivity be abrupt or harsh? Or
I am
was
very
being-
harsh and I'm very abrupt. Yes. Is that what you're asking? You already know this. Have I ever been harsh or abrupt to you?
No.
I wonder why. Why is that? Do you have any idea why that is? I'm looking at you. That's not the kind of teaching you need. I don't have to think about it. I just know what is going to be the most supportive to you. And it just happens spontaneously. Do you feel like I'm supportive to you? Do you?
Yes.
Are you still a student of mine? Okay. But there's other people who have difficulty in different ways. I can't modify this. Yes, go ahead. More. Yes. If you have it, you don't have to crank it up.
It's not coming.
It's a good, thank you so much for that. I know what you're talking about. I really know what you're talking about.
Oh, Divine, what does receptivity look like?
It's I can be pretty descriptive about it. It's receiving what's out there coming at you. And then receiving your response to it is as soon as you see that something happens and then you object to it. And as soon as you see the objection go out, you turn that into a receiving at the same time. So you don't actually put it out there so that it hits that, and then you think that's wrong. That shouldn't be there. He, they, she, them shouldn't be doing that, saying that, doing that. That's wrong. That protects that part of the consciousness that is an illusion, that it thinks there's a solid being who can be harmed. It's just ego. No, it's not a big fancy construct of anything.
Son Hobang.
Yes, sir.
I am wondering about obeisance, and this is personal, but I think it might be helpful to other people, so I'm going to ask. And that is, when we met a couple of days ago, I said what was coming up. I was very candid. You said what was coming up. You seemed very candid. And we did that back and forth for over an hour. And yet I didn't obey. I flatly refused. And you seemed very receptive to that.
I did.
So I just wonder, what is observation as opposed to obeisance?
I'm not sure what your question is. I heard it, but what are you asking me?
Sonho bowing. So put another way, why was it okay that I didn't do what the teacher told me to do?
I didn't say it was okay.
I
made no comment. I saw it. I saw what you were doing. I saw what was happening, and there was no. It's choiceless for me. I don't really think about it and saying, "Oh, he's going to do something other than what I've just said at a record." I have no choice about it. I do not make choices about it. Other than it's not that I don't think about it or that I don't observe something very similar to what you're saying. I could kind of go on and on a little bit, but I'd rather have another question from you or something to more clarify that your area of that where you feel like you're not understanding it, maybe.
Sonho bowing. The teacher-student relationship tends to have the projection of do what the teacher says, and if you don't, there will be some kind of difficulty, maybe from the teacher or maybe just arising naturally, and yet that didn't happen. And I understand it might change from student to student and moment to moment, but I was wondering, kind of on behalf of everyone, what do you how would you say that observation looks? Because you don't want us to obey, you want us to observe. So I guess I was trying to get some clarity around what exactly that means.
Well, I was observing what you were saying and doing that whole hour that we spent together. We could go into a description of it, but it was about, in my end, it's about observing or seeing or receiving whatever it is that you were talking about or pointing to or had difficulty with. And also I had difficulty too, so I had to look at that. With that, I'm not sure but there's no one over here who's the authority who's going to tell you what to do or tell anybody. I don't tell anybody what to do. But if someone shows up with, especially somebody who's really close to me that I've been working with for many, many years, if they show up in some way where they're doing okay, but an area of the situation seems very, very sealed off and protected, and I have permission, then when I say I have permission, it's not like I think about having permission. I don't think, do I have permission here? That never occurs to me. I just function that way. It's just a function. And it comes from there not being separate beings. It can be very disconcerting to live in a dimension where there are no reference points to anything. And then if the person you're sitting with has extreme reference points that they're latching onto with great force, then it's kind of intimidating a little bit. And the consciousness is like, oh, well, I don't know what that is, but I guess I should just stop. As a teacher, I just stop. I stop. I don't know. It's not like a decision, though. It's like I just see intense suffering, and I just stop. painful, very, very painful to work with a person who is knotted up inside and is blaming you for how they feel. But who else are you going to blame? Better to blame the teacher, because the teacher will receive that blame.
Deb.
Go ahead, Deb.
Oh, Deb Bowing. Sokuzan, I consider you my teacher. In this conversation around the teacher being able to teach the student, you know, how from a distance, I feel like I'm ready for a more direct teaching, but I'm not sure how to do that with you. I've interviewed with you before, and I'd like to do that again soon. But outside of that, are you able to give someone like me who comes from the screen some direct teaching? Or how would I even know that? I know not an or. But Deb Bowing.
Yeah, you're doing fine. I'm looking at you. I don't know you. And like I say, it's just so you don't misunderstand. I'm not reading your mind, your thoughts. And I know you. So you're doing fine. Just continue to get yourself to the cushion. Keep studying the Dharma as you do. Study with the Sangha, which is very helpful. This is a long path. I'm not saying that you won't realize your true nature next week. That's possible. But it's unlikely that you'll realize anything unless you look at the confusion. You have to look. This is what the Buddha did 2,500 years ago. He looked right at the confusion and he saw all of it. And that was his awakening. He was aware of confusion. He was aware of confusion. He was aware of the illusion, and he was no longer deluded by it because he saw there was not anything separate from anything else. Confusion isn't separate from one who's confused. Awakening isn't separate from one who's awakened, and awakening and confusion are not separate from anything, from the Buddha or from the lowliest lizard or sentient being. Not separate, not separate, not separate. You have to realize it. Otherwise, you'll continue to grasp, reject, and close off. Simply put, and you may need really powerful intellectual teachings like Nagarjuna, Vasubandhu, or the works of Dogen Zenji, and I can name lots of other teachers that teach very conceptually, but they're coming out of that intellect is coming out of a direct perception of what this is. And that direct perception of what this is cannot be conceptualized or talked about. And it can't, even the experience is not there. It's not an experience. It makes me want to just scream it at you. Stop covering up your true nature. See what this is. And you will transcend life and death. I can't guarantee that, but you have to see the circularity in order to see that nothing ever occurred. This is unreal. Elena, did she ask you a question? Maybe not. Maybe she had to leave. Yes, one more, and then I think we should close since it's almost 12:30. Yes.
Sokubang, yesterday you facilitated the book study for us. And it got into a discussion of how to facilitate. And you had asked me if you were being pushy or if I thought you were being pushy, and I said no. And then there were other people that said that you were being pushy.
Yes.
Was I missing something?
Yeah, you didn't see how pushy I was. Pretty obvious, isn't it? They saw it, you didn't. You missed something. You need to look closer. A teacher can function in any, there's no person here that's deciding anything. If I'm here, I'm functioning as a teacher. I get up and walk out, and if I'm by myself, I don't know. I have no idea who I am, and I don't care. I'm not out there. I'm the teacher walking on the monastery grounds. No, there isn't anyone there. There's no personhood there. Personhood just comes out of situations, and it's an illusion. So if I sit down in front of Sanho and endeavor to receive what he's saying, or if I sit down in front of any student and function and if I'm their teacher, they may be getting something that is not very comfortable. I would say insofar as you can. And the people that have difficulty, I've even told this to people who have left, that fall at the feet of the teacher. Not because this old man needs anything. I don't need anything. I don't need to stay alive. I'm probably gonna go that other direction pretty soon, being very old. But it's not, there's no necessity for what, something else. There isn't anything else. This is reality. You're looking at it. But if you think you know what it is, probably that's an illusion. Yes, sir.
Sokuzan,
I'll get you next.
it seems like in a situation like that, there's the appearance of being pushiness, but then there's the way that it feels or the way that it looks. And it's like, if you're doing that, there's an area where it doesn't feel like there's a lot happening, but somebody else could function that way. And there's the appearance of that having some kind of a different dynamic to it. And the other example is with your anger. It doesn't feel like there's hatred, but it feels like if somebody else might be functioning out of anger, there could be hatred.
Maybe.
So is that a misunderstanding of what's being?
I don't know. All I'm saying is if you realize your true nature, anger is you can get incredibly angry, but there's no one being angry. You have access to all those emotions without any personhood anymore. So therefore you can just manifest anger. You can manifest sadness. You can cry your eyes out. You can live, you can die. You can live, you can die. Which we've all been doing for millennia. Coming into existence, passing. There's no such thing as time or space. It's an illusion. Yes.
Shoto bowing. I think a few people have brought up how there's not like apparent consequences if we don't do what you're asking. But something I have heard you say is like, if we're just going to not listen to what you're saying, why have a teacher? So is there some kind of agreement that we've entered into when we've asked you to be our
I think
teacher?
so. You listen. You agreed to at least endeavor to do this. But if you have to go another way, you and I have talked about this several times. I've given you permission. How many times have I given you permission to put your robes on the shelf and go somewhere else?
Probably half a dozen.
Half a dozen times over the last, what? How many years? How many years you been a monk?
4.
4. So half a dozen times that when things get whatever, I say, well, give me your robe, we'll put it on the shelf. The only person I won't let do that is who? Why don't you get to do that? I'm really nice to him. Mean to you. Well, you know why. You know exactly why. That's the case. More?
Shoto bowing. Can we put tension or move into doing what the teacher says? Do you even recommend that?
I'm not sure what you're asking me.
If we see that we're just not doing what you're asking us to, and we've asked to be your student, like, is that an indication that you're not our teacher, or that we
I
should?
don't know. I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't conclude anything. It's just more of an open situation. So, I've talked about that to some extent. So, and I endeavor to, anybody I talk to, I endeavor to be with you as much as I can with whatever you personally are going through. It's so different with each person. So I'm not going to be able to help you very much unless I'm able to be right with whatever you're going through without coming back like a parent and correcting you. I see where there's some difficulty, but I don't really spend much time correcting. It's just not workable to do that. Okay, I think we can close.
Hi, this is Jiezan, the prior at SokukoJi Buddhist Monastery. Sokuzan offers these talks without expecting anything in return. If you value these talks and would like them to continue, please visit our donate page at www.sokukoji.org. Thank you.